In fact, that's one of the reasons why I think Blushield does work. We've been using Blushield, and I want to go through this entire line because if you can see, I have a lot of the line behind me. You know, Blushield Canada was amazing. The US is amazing. They have actually sent me all of these so that I could demo them yesterday at the show, so that people could actually feel them, look at them, ask me questions about them, ask me which ones, right? Because, some of these devices are a little bit on more of the costly side, especially the Pyramid. That one's the most expensive of them all. And people just don't understand. They look at the website, they're like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to get, and what are all the handhelds, and can I not just get a handheld, and why are there so many of the home units? So I want to kind of go through each of those, but maybe I will do a video by myself to go through each of those very quickly, maybe for 10 to 15 minutes, because one of the biggest things about this, and I'm a little bit, I really wish I could have recorded our presentation yesterday, because I told everybody that I would record it, because I have never ever been able to authorize such an amazing deal with these. To be honest, we didn't even get this deal on when we purchased ours. But because we did this and we did this talk yesterday, I spoke to Blushield Canada. And for anybody that was at the show, or anybody that's watching this video, if they use our discount code, of course, again, these are affiliate discount codes and stuff like that, and they use our link, you're going to get 25% off the entire line in Canada. I reached out to the US, and I know they didn't really have to participate in this because this was a Canadian event, but they're offering everybody 15% off. So 25% off in Canada only until Sunday. So literally for 2 days, because right now they have a 20% off. So I asked for a little bit more. So they've agreed to do 25% off till Sunday. And then they'll hold the 20% discount for an additional, I think, up until Friday. I think it's to the 3rd. So that's the Friday, I believe. And the US is going to hold the 15% for me, for our discount code specifically, all the way to Friday. So I just want to put that out there. And then I will go through some of that stuff after we get through the questions. So I might do a separate video, but I did want to mention this here because the VGCC, I'll just mention this really, really quickly. Finally, Blushield, and I told people before, they did a pilot study evaluating the feasibility and efficacy of an in-home resonance-based electromagnetic field protection device on improving the markers of health and cognitive function among a sample of healthy adults. So they, in fact, okay, great, you got it there. So they, in fact, did this study. It was a small study, and they actually did it for about 12 weeks. So it was a pilot, and again, it was the feasibility study. And the intervention consisted of plugging in the Blushield device at home or at the participant's residence when traveling. So everybody was required to stick with this for 12 weeks. They all got this device here. I don't think you can see it, but it's this line. It was a line that was very equivalent to this line here that they used in the study. So they all got the home unit, and then they also had a portable. So anytime they left, they had to be in the Blushield zone. So they did that, and they all wore, they did a bunch of diagnostics and stuff like that, where they did CBCs, CMPs, they did other blood markers for related inflammation, oxidative stress, DNA damage, and cellular stuff. So they did a bunch of that stuff. And everybody was wearing an Aura ring to track all their different vitals, right? So the wearable device to assess their sleep and their other physiological parameters, and with the Aura ring, and a single item assessment of overall health. So they didn't find, again, 12 weeks is probably not a long enough time to see a ton of different things happen within your blood system, other than the fact that I would argue that we've seen other studies that they've done where you would see what is called the stacking of your blood. This is called a rouleau formation. And they have found that when you are in the Blushield zone, your blood just opens right back up. It's very oxygenated. The cells look really like healthy, and there's a lot of flow. So it gets rid of all those rouleau stacking formations. But this was another study that they did a while back on blood. And they've done other studies on animals where they, I think they tied a bunch of blue shields to cows' necks, and they found that they were producing amazing milk. Then they did another study where they put it inside of like a chicken house, and the chickens started laying amazing eggs where the actual eggs themselves were a lot more dense. So there's been all those studies that they did years ago, but this one was finally like essentially like a small clinical trial. So what they did in fact find was there were limited changes in conventional labs. So there wasn't a lot in the decrease in glucose or increase in monocytes, but modest improvements in self-reported health, improvements on numerous domains of the vital signs questionnaire. So they did a composite memory, cognitive flexibility, executive function, and processing speed. The wearable device parameters showed that they were getting better. So deeper sleep, heart rate variability. Some people started noticing heart rate variabilities changing within hours of being in the Blue Shield zone. Their resting heart rate was a lot better, and their body temperature was more regulated. And perhaps the most interestingly of all is that they saw a major transformation in genes involved in RF exposure, including the keys to VGCC genes. So this is where Kevin was talking about the VGCC being the most prominent thing that's affected by non-native EMF. And that is what they found improvements with the VGCC markers with the Blue Shield. So it said here, the use of Blue Shield is feasible and revealed improvements in some markers of sleep, cognitive function, and overall health. These improvements may be due in part to the suppression of VGCC activity, which provides literature has demonstrated inactivated by RF exposure and can generate oxidative stress and inflammation. So again, if it was only 12 weeks, you can imagine if you're in this for as long as Kevin and I have been in it, like we've literally had we had handhelds. When did we get them? Back in 2008? It was the very
2007, 2008, something like that.
Yeah, so we've been in this zone now for, wow, 16, 17, 18 years.
Almost 20
So
years.
yeah, almost 20 years. And Blue Shield wasn't even in the US or Canada at that time. We've been using them since Mark Langdon basically started up the company in New Zealand, correct?
Yeah.
So, I don't even know what it's like to not live with Blue Shield, but I feel that when I was telling you guys about all the other stuff in the first part of this video, when I started having all those health effects after Kevin started, doing all the wireless stuff in our house, when we started with the Blue Shield, I personally, because I am so EHS sensitive, I found that it made a major difference. And if I leave our house and I stay anywhere for a couple of days, I start to notice that I do not feel good still to this day. So it's really interesting now too, because you talked about EHS sensitivity a little bit, which is what I have. So electro hypersensitivity. They've actually even created a new line now. I guess I'm just going to get into the Blue Shield. They created a new line, the blue cube there and the red. This actually was specifically designed, they call it the sensitive line. This was designed specifically for people who are like me, who have EHS sensitivity. And it was designed for people who might be on the spectrum, who are experiencing like things like autism and stuff like that, or people who are divergent. And the reason for that is because there has been all these studies to suggest that these people tend to be a lot more in tune with their environment. And I've seen some stuff in the past where, I have a lot of situations where if I'm around a lot of EMF, I'll have this terrible pain in my hand. I'll get this weird electrical shock feeling in my head. And I mean, over the last 20 years, this has gotten a lot better. And I'll tell you how it's gotten better for me, because I do believe there is a direct correlation to the fact that we do a lot of cleansing and we do a lot of detoxing. And I think if you have a lot of heavy metals, or you've been exposed to mold, or you have Lyme disease, an underlying infection, toxic dental work, or, like, again, all these different things, I think some of those things could somehow be reacting to our environment. And there are studies to show that being in a high EMF zone makes certain things proliferate, like molds, and it can actually really disrupt the microbes in your body. So I think that that's why I was experiencing so much of that. So the reason why there are so many different types now is because what they have found is that, so goes out about 90 meters, right? So this is going to protect your whole house, and then you're going to have to carry your personal device. But when people were jumping into, say, something like this, or, if you guys need like a pyramid, this was way too much for somebody who has EHS, because I believe these are like, so when you get into the Evo and the pyramid, these are 4 times stronger than the C1. And the C1 is 2 times stronger than that. And then the entry level ones are using like the Fibonacci sequence, but they don't have as many of the frequencies that they've put in some of the other ones. So again, this is going to be a little less strong than these ones. So I hope that makes sense, because I had a lot of questions last night. I was so happy to answer all of them because I finally had them all, the whole line with me. But a lot of people were like, oh my God, like I have to buy a pyramid because I live, near one 5G tower. You don't necessarily need a pyramid if you live beside like one tower. And I don't want to get into all of the way, like, so on their website, I think, you know what, Kevin, can you pull up? I think I have the website there. Can you pull up the website really quickly? It's not our website, it's the Blushield website. Okay, so they have already done this, so I'm not going to explain this all again. But if you just scroll up here, there is a section of this portion here. It actually goes through what each of the devices do, and it tells you how to assess your space and which one you're going to need. So like it'll go through each of them, right? So you got your Phi, which is the white. This is the white series here. And then you've got your B1, which is the blue, the C1, which is the ultimate cube, and that's something that they use very similarly in the study that they did. And then you've got the Evo and the Evo pyramid. I only have the Evo pyramid here. I don't have the Evo cube because I think this was actually sold out. And I also have the Evo handheld. So it goes through all of those. It tells you, like, for instance, if you live in an area within 3 miles radius from your home of this amount of towers, and there is a map that Kevin can pull up, or he can teach you guys how to use, so that you can actually check which antennas are in your area. In fact, it's right there on their website too. So you can plug it in.
Just type your address in there and then it'll come up. This is a
Yes.
little different one than I use, but this might
Yeah,
be for
because this
more
is the
of the
one for the US.
Yeah.
We have it on the Canadian site too, but I showed this one because he's got all the stuff here. I'm pretty sure this is on the Canadian site as well. But I just wanted to give people a general idea. But it'll go through, if you go down a little bit, but it'll say stuff like less than 15 cell towers and 50 or more, then you need this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go through all of this. I will link to this. Yeah, I will link to this down below so that you guys can read through it. And then you can decide based on where you live, you have to plug in your address. So based on where you live, you can plug that in, you can find out which one you need. And like I said, for the Canadian side, this is the largest discount I've ever seen. I've never given anything. I've never been authorized to give any more than 18%. And that's usually like Black Friday around Christmas time and all that stuff. So this is, like I said, 25%, but it's literally for only 2 days. And then it'll go down to 20% until Friday. So I really wanted to discuss that because, like I said, we've been using this technology for 20 years. A lot of people came to the show and they were like, what about these like handhelds? And what about this? Like, so like, you know what? I don't want to call out specific companies just for defamation and all that stuff. But they were like, I'm using this, I'm using that. If we've used those companies, I would comment on them. But if I've never used them, I don't like to comment on things that I personally have not used. And honestly, I never really felt the need to move away from Blushield. To be honest, we've tried a few other things out there, especially like little, I want to call them like passive, right? Because that's another thing we're going to talk about in a minute. This is considered active technology. It's not passive. And that is in my questions because people are like, well, why is this different than like those little necklaces that you wear, the little cards that you put on things? And that's all considered passive. Active means you literally have a battery or you plug it into the wall. And what this is doing is it's not just working off of like holographic technology or something along those lines. It is in fact creating a scalar wave. So I'm sure a lot of people, that's big, like that's a huge hyped up word now. So they've developed a Fibonacci scalar wave that they're emitting off of the Blushield. And so this propagates into your environment. And like I said, Some of them go 90 meters, some of them go 120 meters. So that's like what 200 and something, 93 feet. So even if you get some of these, you're protecting your house in most cases, and like half of your, like 230, 93 feet, that's going to go down the street, right? It's going to go to a couple of houses. So this actually, in fact, creates almost like a bubble around you of scalar fields, and then, or I should say, scalar waves. And they've also incorporated some other types of frequencies into the specific different ones, right? So like this one, from what I understand, they put some additional frequencies in there for a calming effect for those that are really EHS sensitive. These ones out here, like the C1, I believe they said, or the Evo, has got some new Fibonacci sequence that is supposed to be really helpful for deep restorative sleep and healing. So again, you would have to read about all that because I don't want to go through all of that because we have limited time, but that's what that is. And so somebody asked me, oh, so does it go left or right? I said, no, it actually creates like a bubble. So if you plug this in, I say to people, plug this in, say on your main level of your house, it's going to be 90 meters up, down, side, left, right, all around, right? You're going to create like a big sphere around you with this field when you're doing that. And what this does is when you're in this field, people need to understand is that if you're surrounded by a bunch of stuff, smart meters, your cell phones, you got Wi-Fi going all over the place, you got Alexa, you got Google Home, you got cameras all over your house, your body is going to be very, very dysregulated because it is constantly picking up on these frequencies all around you and all this dirty electricity and the harmonics and all that stuff that Kevin talked about. So while this doesn't block anything, what it does is it creates a stronger, we're hoping a stronger field than what you're doing in your house. And the thing is our body is absolutely brilliant and intelligent, and it does require frequencies to live. I'm sure you've all heard about Schumann resonances. If you are disconnected from the Schumann resonance, life ceases to exist, okay? So this is much more advanced than having Schumann resonators in your house. But what this does is your body will pick up to this rather than everything else around you. With that said, though, this is not like a green card to start irradiating the crap out of your life with all of this stuff. This is why we first and foremost say to everyone, it is important to mitigate and possibly even remediate, but mitigate, absolutely mitigate as much as you possibly can. This means don't use your cell phone for like 4 hours a day. Instead, hardwire your computer. Instead, maybe if you want to use your cell phone, turn it on airplane mode and set it up with an Ethernet cable or adapter or something like that. Instead of having, LED lights in your house, go back to halogens. Instead of, having to talk to Alexa and Google, maybe just go do Google on your computer, on the internet, and get rid of that. If you have a decked phone in your house, get rid of those cordless phones. I mean, a lot of people don't have a landline anymore. Personally, we still have a landline because we don't like to use our cell phone. So we have a landline. But if you're going to get a landline, make sure that it is not a decked phone, because a decked phone, Magda Havis has showed people, it's like putting an actual cell phone tower directly in the middle of your house. And actually, a primary example of this is we went to a client's house the other day and we did an EMF inspection in there, and we wanted it to be around 100, like Kevin said. And what were the readings that you were getting because of the decked phone and wireless router?
It was 60,000 microwatts or so.
60,000. We want 100. 60,000. And then you unplugged the decked phone, got rid of it immediately. Like we literally went to go buy another phone for her.
Yeah, it was the deck
And
phone and their Wi-Fi router. And you unplug those two, you drop down to, 300-400 or so.
just from doing that,
So
just from doing that.
from
So
60,000.
from 60,000, okay?
Yeah.
So this is how insane that can be. And then people are like, well, I can't disconnect my Wi-Fi. I need to have Wi-Fi. Again, we know people need modern day technology. We're not going to tell people to get rid of these things completely, which is why we tell people if you can't get rid of these things like we have, personally, I would say if you can, hardwire. But if you can't, or you don't, I mean, I don't want to say can't because anything is possible. If you don't want to, then there are some options for putting on, some shielding around that device. People don't love it because it drops down your signal about what, like 75 to 85% for some of them. And so what ends up happening is if you put like a device that's kind of like a Faraday cage around it, you get some of the signal through, but like say you live in a larger home, like 2,000 square feet, you can't get like a signal on the other side of the house. So we've had people complain like, I can't get the signal now in my bedroom, which you shouldn't be getting a signal in your bedroom because your bedroom's to go to sleep. So you shouldn't be irradiating yourself in your bedroom. But needless to say, this is why we tell people if you don't want to have a weak connection, do what we do. We hardwire and we can use like we have what's called hotspots throughout our house where Kevin has installed hotspots where we can plug in our kitchen, in our two offices, in certain places in our basement. So we still have smart devices, but the Bluetooth is turned off. We'll talk about this in another video. The radar is turned off on some of this stuff. And of course, we are not using Wi-Fi, which again is much more secure to go hardwire. When you're using Ethernet cables and this kind of stuff, like you're less likely to get hacked. Like a lot of people at this meeting were very, very, very concerned. And I'll just touch on this right now. I created a little brochure like this for the meeting, and I did a QR code. And a lot of people would not scan the QR code because they were really concerned that this was going to be breaching their privacy. It was going to maybe send some type of malevolent, like data sharing or whatever. And by all means, that can happen. If you use a QR code and you don't trust the other side and the other source, and it sends you to a website that's like a phishing website, yeah, you can use, and there's a name for this, where they use a QR code to phish your personal data. But a QR code is just a visual of a URL. So when you scan this, it's just basically taking a visual of a URL of somebody's website. It's just an easy way to click on it. So it's going to our website. My website's not phishing your information. I mean, everybody collects information on everybody on the internet. If you're on the internet was essentially all originally developed by DARPA and everything. So they're collecting information all the time. But I'm saying that it's the website that you have to worry about. It's not the QR code. So I just wanted to clarify that because, people were really concerned about that. People are really concerned about smart meters. People are really concerned about all these things. But then what we found out was that everybody in the room has a cell phone. A lot of people don't turn their cell phones off at night. A lot of people have Wi-Fi. A lot of people have some smart meters already. These things are all like essentially phishing our information all the time. And these things are kind of essentially breaching our privacy, especially if you do not have what's called a VPN installed on your computer. And you can get VPNs on your cell phone. By the way, my cell phone right now is in a Faraday pouch. So it's not even, I can't even get a signal. So we're going to talk about that too, because people came up to me with a lot of little, cases for their phones and stuff like that. And they were asking me like what I thought about them. Well, I've had those and they still leak. They still leak. So we're going to get into the questions. And I think that's where we're going to get into the questions now. And then we'll probably run out of time on this one and have to get into the next bit. But so like I was saying, the cell phone cases. Do you want to touch on this? Because you did a video on the cell phone cases already. So I'll let you maybe touch on that and then I'll tell people what I think about them.
Yeah, cell phone cases. I mean, there's a lot of them out there now. A lot of them are saying they can block 100% of the signal in some cases. Um, it's important to know that these cell phone cases, they don't enclose your phone 100%. If they did that's a Faraday cage, right? You wouldn't be able to get a signal at all.
Faraday
There's
cage.
going to be cracks and there's going to be some areas where that signal's still going to come in, right? So is it going to protect you 100%? No, it's
No.
not. Now, the way that they've done these studies, I know with Defender Shield, what they've done is they actually use the material. So they're actually just showing that the material has the potential to block 100% of that signal. And the way that they've done that study, that's what they've shown. But once you take that material and you actually make a cell phone case out of it, and the geometry involved, like there's going to be some gaps. It's not going to block it 100%, right?
Yeah,
So
and you know what? I've
it's never
reached
going to
out to
happen.
them and I've reached
It's
out to them and they've admitted they've already told me that. And
yeah,
that's why they do create these Faraday cages too, right? For people
right,
that want 100%. So
right.
my opinion on this is, and I'll be completely honest with you, I think they're helpful in the sense that there is a flap on theirs where you can flap it over for when you actually have to put a cell phone up to your head. You're not getting direct radiation into your face, or you can flap it on the back and you're not getting direct radiation into your hand. But what I have found as an EHS sensitive person, there's still leaks around the phone. So I'm still getting a bit of pain in my hand, in my arm, because I'm really sensitive. And that's funny because half of my family is, and my mom also experiences the same thing. But I do find that it is helpful. And the one thing that I liked about having a case from them was that I could put it in my purse. People need to realize, though, you need to put the side that has the shielding towards your body when it's in your purse or it's in your pocket. So then that way the RF coming off of it's not like going propagating directly into your body. But when I got the new Samsung, first of all, I got the new Samsung here, as you can see. This thing is like it's a monstrosity. I personally don't love it. And I honestly I couldn't find a case for it. So instead, I got a Faraday cage from Defender Shield. They were kind enough to send me one. And so you'll see it's got this material on the inside, and this is the Faraday material. So I actually put it in here when I'm not using it and when it's in my purse. I know this is huge. I do have a bigger purse. So I put this in my purse so the whole thing is shielded. Problem with this is you're not going to get a signal. So I can't get calls and I can't get emails. But when I take my phone out of the case, it'll show like I had a missed call or I missed signal or whatever. And then I'll just check my stuff when I take it out of here. Another thing that people love to do, and I'm just going to quickly say this, is people use their cell phone for their alarm clock. And I had a lot of people ask me that question. Guys, I would just tell everybody, it's best to just get yourself an alarm clock. Get yourself a battery operated alarm clock if you can. If not, you want to use it as an alarm clock, you can get a Faraday cage, put it in here. And in fact, I've left it open a little bit like this on the top, and my alarm will still go off. So you can do that, or you can put your phone in another room because all of this stuff drops off with distance, like Kevin has said in the past, and he said it at the meeting. Put it in another room so that it's going off in another room that you can hear, but it's not in your actual bedroom. You're not like sleeping with like kids are sleeping with cell phones by their head, under their pillows. No. You can't do that. It's like absolutely terrible. So that's all I'm going to say on that, because I did get at least 3 questions about cell phone cases while we were there.
But the cell phone cases too, I mean, there's really 3 key components here to it, right? You got the wireless signal that's coming to your phone, whether Wi-Fi,
Right.
Bluetooth, whatever it is. But we also have the battery. We're not
Right.
talked enough about the battery, and I would argue that maybe some of the most potent stuff is coming from the battery because you're holding that right in your hand and you're
Right.
getting that right in your hand. There's also the screen. You're touching the screen. There's an electric field on the screen.
Right.
You're
Right.
making a connection when you touch that with your finger.
Yeah. And
Your
the
finger and
solution.
even every part of your hand is a connection to every
Yeah.
organ system in your
Yeah.
body.
And actually, the
So,
solution that I've actually had through Defender Shield was they actually were, like I said, they were kind enough to send me this. And so I know it sounds crazy. I wish I had them. I don't have it right now. I've showed it in another video. I actually sometimes, if I'm going to use my phone for a longer period of time, I have a Faraday glove. I put the glove on and they sent me a stylus. So I have a glove and I touch the screen. And you know what? I probably should share these links down below because there was one person in particular who came up to me and they are really, really, really EHS sensitive. Actually, there were 2 people. One person who's a client of ours already actually had to leave because the facility, obviously, I only had the handhelds. I couldn't plug everything else in. She said she couldn't even be out and about because she's like a person that literally, essentially, like can't even live in the city. So I respected that. She had to leave a little bit early. But then we also had another girl that came up to me and has started asking me about some of that stuff. So I am going to include those things down below, like the glove and the stylus and stuff. But again, this is not like use your cell phone for 3 to 4 hours a day. It's like use your cell phone when you need it and then don't use it. Put it further away from your body. Keep it on hands free if you can. That's the best way to use your phone, to put it on hands free at a distance from your body.